What do you got here?
Oh, I don't know.
Oh, it's like I was saying, look how fat they're gonna be. It's gonna be fun today.
The Fishin Show with JT Kenney is brought to you by Florida Space Coast. Plan your next adventure at visitspacecoast.com. American Bait Works. B&W Trailer Hitches. Ardent Reels. Mercury. Go Boldly. Falcon Boats. Go Fish. Nichols Lures. Trocar. Greenway Plants reminds you to thank a farmer. Power Pole.
All right, everybody. This is episode 1 of season 2. This is the 2021 opener for us. It's January. We're here on Headwaters Lake. Look at this guy. Been my buddy for a while, John Cox. Me and this guy, every time we get together, we laugh like crazy. It's awesome. We have a blast. Never been in the boat before together until today. This is going to be epic. One of the best shallow water fishermen in the world. One of the best shallow water lakes in the world. We're right here just south of my house in Palm Bay, Headwaters Lake. And what we're going to do right now, before we really get into the meat of what we're going to get into today, there's been a lot of information out there on the internet about how this place, the parking lot gets filled up. You got to be here at 5 o'clock in the morning. Well, let me tell you, John and I met at 9:45 this morning, Tuesday in January, when this place is in the middle of our season. Let's scroll around here a little bit. Look at this. You could park, now the regular parking lot is getting kind of full, but you could park another 50 or 60 rigs, and we're in what we call in season in January. So everybody that's out there telling you that not to come to Headwaters because there's no place to park, not true. What we do have at Headwaters though is a lake right out there, absolutely full of giant bass. Myself and this guy are getting ready to go smash them. This is the beginning of the Fishin Show with JT Kenney.
Packed light today.
This is when some of the biggest bass are going to be caught anywhere during the spawn, anywhere you are. But the spawn is starting right now here in Palm Bay, Headwaters Lake. This is the first time anybody has got to fish Headwaters Lake during the spawn. It only opened August 10th. So this is the first time. So guess what you guys are going to get to see the first time? Some spawn fishing on Headwaters Lake with one of the best sight fishermen. No, I will say the best sight fisherman in the world, and if it's not true, it's okay. I've said non-true things before, but this guy is an animal on the bed. Dude, you got to be excited because you love to sight fish. You got to be excited.
I do, and I've been waiting. You know, when we're here in the summer, all the deep holes out here and stuff, I'm thinking like, man, what lives down here? You know, I have no idea how to catch them when they're like that, but right now they're moving up. Oh, man, I can't wait. I couldn't even sleep last night.
It's gonna be fun. Let's crawl in this thing and get after it. There he is, number 1, boys. Run up there and bit the old freedom chatterbait. Oh yeah. Boom. Boom goes the dynamite, boys. How about that? Not a giant, but look, just like I was saying, look how fat they're gonna be. It's gonna be fun today.
Fishing the swim jig through that top water for a little bit. There's a little bit too much chop, I feel like, on the water, so I decided to pick up the swim jig. This swim jig I'm using, it's just a ½ ounce. I throw that same Maxent meaty chunk on it for swimming, flipping, everything, and I'm just gonna try to pop it along while JT's throwing the chatter. See if we can't get one of these to react. Then come out of one of these holes and eat it.
You know, and just like John was saying, there's a lot of days when they'll like one or the other, even though the retrieve, what we're doing is pretty similar. You know, we're both throwing a light colored jig type thing. I'm throwing a vibe jig, the Freedom chatterbait, and John's throwing a swim jig, but we're just kind of popping it and hopping it and moving it pretty quick through this grass, and really they come shooting out of those little open holes and stuff. But some days they really like one better than the other, but then some days you're on lakes like Headwaters where they'll just eat both.
Boy, that was like topped out almost.
Right on the top, yeah.
Wow.
I don't think he's a very big one, but old bass fish. Cha-cha-cha. Little Freedom chatterbait strikes again. The setup I like to use for throwing a vibrating jig chatterbait like this is I use that Halo, the medium heavy cranking series, and a lot of people throw their vibe jigs chatterbaits on a lot of different things. Personally, I like a cranking rod. It's a fiberglass rod, and I got 30-pound braid on it. I think the fiberglass rod kind of lets you have a little bit of give, but then when you do set the hook, the braid really drives that hook home, and also the braid allows you to be able to snap it out of the grass, because that's what we're doing. We're popping this thing through the grass and stuff, and that's how we're getting these bites. I throw it on an Ardent Apex Elite. It's a 6-3-to-1 reel. I don't like a 7 or an 8-to-1 on this thing because I'll overwind it. I'll wind it too fast. So I like to stick with the 6-to-1, or like this Ardent's a 6-3-to-1, and that's kind of the setup. And so far, it's working today. Got one. Ow.
Boy, that felt good.
You may make me pick up my flipper.
I
heard the
oh, that was so awesome.
I was like, oh, I want to be doing that.
I know.
I'm throwing chatterbait.
I know. It flipped over that thick mat, and as soon as it came out, and fell in a hole there.
I love that.
Oh, man. Yeah, I'm doomed now. I'm going to flip all day.
Oh, my God. Come on, man.
No,
Swim jig. Hey!
it's the swim jig. I'm getting a little bigger.
So one of the things that a lot of people know you for is being one heck of a shallow water angler, obviously. But recently, you've definitely caught some in some deeper water. Like up at Detroit, you had a good tournament up there doing that. But speaking of tournaments, you're going to fish a lot of derbies next year. Tell us what you're fishing.
Oh gosh, I mean, it started off I was just going to fish the Bass Pro Tour.
Yep.
And the Pro Circuit, which is the old FLW Tour.
Yep.
And then the Bass Elite schedule came out, and it was lined up where I could do that one too. So
hey.
I figured, what the heck, $115,000 in entry fees. I mean, what's the worst that could happen? I could, lose my house or, wife. You never know, but whatever.
The life of a tournament fisherman. But seriously, that there's some guys out there that like I call journeyman, and I don't know if that's the right term for it or not. But seriously, like, here's the facts of it. In my opinion, you tell me if I'm wrong. You just love to fish.
Oh, that's it. I mean, we fished. My kids and everything came to the title championship.
Yep.
We were catching them smallmouth out deep. I mean, it was just a blast. Caught so many fish there at Sturgeon Bay. When I dropped my Marshall and my cameraman off, my kids and wife jumped in the boat and we fished till dark. And that was after going I think 6 weeks straight. So I just love it. I love going. And,
well, that's one of the things. There's so many of the anglers out there, and there's nothing wrong. Everybody's different. Everybody has their own thing. But there's some anglers that say we'll just fish the 7 or 8 Bass Pro Tours with MLF. There's some anglers that will just fish MLF's Big 5 Pro Circuit. Some guys are doing both of those. I mean, you're definitely taking it a little bit. I'm not going to say to an extreme, but I love thinking about you fishing that many events because you just want to fish, and there's so many guys that don't, and I like how you're kind of a little bit against the grain. If I may, I think you got a little bit of damn it in you, and I love that. Like, I absolutely love that. I think it's so awesome.
Man, I looked at it as, I'd leave one of the tournaments, and I'd have 3-4 weeks off. And, you know, out of them 3-4 weeks, I mean, I might not fish maybe 2, 3, 4 days out of those.
Right.
So I was going anyway. So I'm like, you know, might as well go. And I'm just excited because a few of them I'm going to have to go, no practice, show up, and just see what happens. You know, I might completely bomb and not catch anything, or it might go really well. I don't know. So those are the ones that are kind of exciting.
To me, you're an angler though that can do that. Like you can just take off and be like, hey, that looks good, you know, and just wheel it over. But like that's kind of your style. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like you don't have this set schedule, and some anglers have a set schedule like that, and it works really well for them. You know what I mean? So just yours is different, and I think it's absolutely awesome. I think to be able to just take off and do that. And you and I were talking just a little bit ago off camera, and I fished my best too when I was fishing at the tour level, when I fished a whole lot of events too. I didn't do quite as many as you're doing, but if I stayed going and just had a week here or there off, but fished more than I had off, which is not what most guys did. Most guys, you know, if there's 52 weeks in a year, they might fish 15 weeks maybe.
Right.
And I had some you know, some times where if there's 52 weeks in a year, I know one year I fished 22, you know, like counting the old EverStart series, which is now our Toyota series, but counting those, like I fished 22 or 23 events one year, you know, so, and that was one of my best years. I didn't win any events that year, but just super consistent. Right. You know, just like top 25 every week. Like I could just wake up and it was just almost like autopilot. Right. You just go out and just, and I see that in you, only you're winning some tournaments when you're doing the same thing. So I just think it's awesome.
Well, it really does too. Like you said, like you just go out there and you just feel like you're going to catch them. You know? Like you wake up in the morning, you don't really know where you're going to go. You have an idea kind of what you're going to throw, but not, you know, not locked in, you know.
Right. And, I think it's a great, you know, one of the guys that's really good at the same kind of thing as you are, is Brian Thrift. But you'll look at Thrift and he'll have a whole bunch of rods on deck like you do sometimes. But he'll use most of those in one day. Right. And he's probably if it's a 5-fish limit event, he's probably caught 5 of his fish on 5 different baits. Right, you know what I mean? And I know sometimes you're like that a lot too. So that's just really pretty cool. Well, awesome, man. That's a cool thing. You know, we just take a little break here for a second, but I wanted to talk to John about some of his massive tournament schedule. So good luck this year,
Thanks, man.
Ooh, nice one.
I want to see if there's any more in there. It looked like there was stuff taking off everywhere.
There, a little bit better one. Whoa! Come up here, young man. Yeah, a little bit better one. I switched on that Freedom chatterbait. I switched it to that the net bait kick and bee. Might have made a difference. I don't know, but I can tell you this: a pretty good one right there. I was kind of worming that chatterbait. You know, I was throwing it out there, let it go to the bottom and reel it a little bit. And then when I'd feel it hit a clump of grass, I'd snap it up out, but let it fall back to the bottom and then just kind of lift it a couple times. But man, when he finally hit it, toonk, and I saw that line jump. Apparently he liked it. Oh yeah. More in shock, just like that.
That was about to cook them off. I thought it was grass. Oh man, oh he's peeing, look at that. He was probably down there on the bed.
Boy, jumped up there and bit it.
Yeah, it did. Boy, I had to really let it sit there forever.
That looks like a bass, only smaller. Caught one of those myself today.
I've been throwing that thing forever. So, you know, I really like throwing a prop bait. You know, this one's a spin rocket. You know, just this time of year, it just seems like that's when it really shines, is like right as the fish are starting to move up to bed. You got that kind of cooler water temp. My problem is I always try to work it too fast, and just like there, I slowed down, and it was like instantly. I was just letting it sit, and one came up and got it. And I don't know what it is about it, but it definitely calls them up, you know, right as they're getting ready to spawn and when they start spawning.
You know, one of these things about early spring fishing down here in Florida is you got fish in so many different stages of the spawn, but they're all kind of in the same areas, but you can fish the same areas with different techniques and literally catch different fish. And what I mean by that is they all don't spawn the same couple of weeks like they do up north. So what you end up having is you have some fish, you know, just take here in the Palm Bay area, for instance. You'll have some fish that'll spawn, believe it or not, as early as November or December. Not a bunch, but a few. And then you'll have, you know, some that'll spawn in January. You know, we're in mid to late January right now. The main spawn down here is probably February, but there's definitely some fish. So really you could have some post-spawn fish. You'll have some spawners right now and a lot of pre-spawners. And, you know, the chatterbait I'm throwing today from Freedom, you know, that's really kind of a pre-spawn type deal. But you have fish in all three stages, so it's kind of, you know, you get an area that looks right with the grass and the scattered grass, open holes and thick grass. You got to try a couple different baits because you really you don't know what stage they're going to be in.
Jeez. Biggin?
Can't tell. Something's pulling on my string. Oh!
Gosh.
Poop face. It's the poopy face. I had him, and then I didn't. So, you guys might notice in the background, it looks a little bit different. So we're over at Headwaters. John and I are fishing along. You know, we're catching them, caught a bunch of fish. Didn't catch any great big ones, but we're catching a bunch of fish, and we get talking about Stick Marsh. And, you know, Stick Marsh is the legendary place that kind of started all of these lakes around Palm Bay. And, you know, just for years, this place has been known as a big bass factory. And Headwaters has been kind of taking the crown jewel lately. And we're talking about how good, you know, Stick Marsh still is. And John said, well, I've actually never... You've never been to Stick Marsh.
I know, man, and I'm telling you, right outside these two stretches of land or whatever this is, man, I cannot wait to see what's on the other side. I mean, I've always dreamed about coming to a place like this,
right?
And I mean, it was right across the levee. I mean, we had to come over and check it out.
It literally, you could be in Headwaters and you make a good cast over the levee, it would land in Stick Marsh. And I said, well, look, man, we've already caught a bunch of fish today. I said, let's load the boat up. It's exactly 2.1 miles from the Headwaters boat ramp to the Stick Marsh boat ramp. We're already in the water. Let's go see what happens here at Stick Marsh. What was that about your fourth cast on Stick Marsh?
Yeah, the fourth cast here. The old flat side, frit side there.
First fish on Stick Marsh didn't take very long, did it?
Man, was that my third, fourth cast?
And literally, Headwaters is right over that little berm right there.
It's so crazy, man.
He said, "Well, I haven't fished Stick Marsh." I said, "Well, let's go. It's 2 miles away." Couldn't resist the salt lick. Could not resist the salty stick of the salt lick. Fat. There's even a little guy. Look how fat they get. They're looking to spawn. So for all you guys that are going to come down and fish Headwaters and Stick Marsh and Garcia and Three Forks and everything we have here in the Palm Bay area to fish, you know, you saw us catch a lot of fish on this today. It's a net bait salt lick. I got a 5/0 trocar on there with just a little 5/16. Sometimes I'll go down to even a 3/16 tungsten weight, but that trocar TK130, it's just a simple rig. I put it on 17-pound fluorocarbon Halo KS2 Elite. I like a 7.5 medium heavy, a 7.3-1 Ardent Apex Grand. I like the 7.3-1 when I'm worm fishing, because even though this isn't a curly tail worm, it's a stick worm, I still consider it a worm. That's just old school me. But I like to be able, a lot of times these fish are on the beds down here this time of year, you know, whether you're here in January or February or March, you know, you're likely to be fishing for fish on the beds, especially if you're worm fishing, whether you can actually see them or not. So many times those fish will pick that bait up and they're moving it off that bed. So I like that fast reel, and you could even go to an 8-1, you know, in the Ardent Summit Hawk. You even go to an 8-1 and be able, like if that fish comes at you, you need to be able to pick that line up really tight and then set that hook. You always want to make sure you set the hook on a tight line, or as tight as you can get it. So that's why I use the fast reel. But that's basically my favorite setup for down here. And then John, I saw you throw in top water.
Man, I threw right here. This is the Berkeley Spin Rocket, and I don't know if you guys can see right here. You know, a lot of times when you're using prop baits, the braid gets sucked into the prop constantly. What I end up doing is taking these little bobber stop things and slide them on there, and it kind of really keeps your line from getting twisted in there. So that's like a main thing. But I pretty much just take this and I throw it around where I think the beds are, you know, and because you can straight reel it, you can slow it down and twitch it some. It seems like when you get around those bedding fish, and the longer you can let it sit near the beds, it seems to really call them up. And so that's like one of my favorite springtime baits right there. And I just have it on a 30-pound braid, a 7.5, a Boo Garcia winch rod, and on a Revo reel. And yeah, it's a pretty simple setup, and I mean, it's usually killer this time of year.
You know, one of the cool things about that too, really the two baits we're holding in our hands, actually, a lot of times I'll throw a bait like that too, and sometimes you'll see them kind of just come up and roll underneath of it and not eat it.
Right.
Sometimes you can pick that up, fire
That's
it right
right.
back in there where that roll is, and dunk.
Yeah.
So even if you don't catch them on that bait,
Right.
they'll show them to you sometimes.
Let you know where they're at.
Yep.
Oh, a little bit better one.
The saltly lick is showing out. Look at every one of them. Look how heavy they're
Oh,
I found one. Old stick marsh bass. Come on up here, young man. Old stick marsh bass. Whee! You can tell the bite's kind of off though, seriously. I've noticed a lot of times when you hook them in the bottom like that, and we have missed quite a few fish today. Now obviously, our Palm Bay, so we've caught a lot of fish. But I mean, we've missed a lot, but you can see that how it's hooked down low like that. It's all right. Had a trocar. Trocar stabbed him.
oh,
no, come on!
Jeez.
God!
Look at the boil. Oh.
What do you got here?
Oh, I don't know.
Oh, better one there.
Oh. Oh. Uh-oh. Uh-oh.
Doubles, boys. Here we go. Hey, John. Welcome to Palm Bay, buddy.
Oh, look how fat this guy is.
Ah! Fire drill! Fire drill! There we go.
Oh, that was awesome.
I must admit, yours is bigger than mine.
Just a little bit, not too much. Oh my gosh.
They're not big ones, but that's fun when you can catch doubles like that.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool. All right, man. I really appreciate you coming down fishing with us today. The sun's getting low. I hope maybe we can get a couple more casts in, but the sun's getting low. You know, wrapping it up. What a fun day. I mean, we caught a bunch of fish. And one of the cool things that we did, and I know we talked about it a little bit earlier, but we had caught a bunch of fish over at Headwaters, and you said, man, I always hear about stick marsh. I always hear about stick marsh. It's 2 miles away. Loaded up. We come over here to stick marsh, and you saw we caught some more fish over here. Just, I mean, we had a blast, but dude, I know you're super busy with all your tournaments, and I know you got some sponsor obligations. So I just want you to know I do appreciate you making time to come down here and dabble around.
Oh man, I love coming down here. I mean, the Palm Bay area, I mean, just like you said, so many options. Whatever you want to fish, it's here. So I'm just, man, thanks for the invite, and I can't wait to
I appreciate it. But you had been to Stick Marsh, or excuse me, you'd been to Headwaters several times.
Yeah, I mean, I make the drive. I'm like 2 hours from Headwaters, and it's like, you know, you and the kids, and
it's well worth
everybody wants to go, you know. So it's like we just make the drive all the time.
I've run into people that have driven down from Michigan. I met a guy from Maine. Like, people are just coming from all over the place. It's such a great lake, and there's so many. Whatever your favorite technique is, you can do it at Headwaters. Well, all right, thanks everybody for watching this episode of The Fishin Show with JT Kenney.
The Fishin Show with JT Kenney is brought to you by Florida Space Coast. Plan your next adventure at visitspacecoast.com. American Bait Works. B&W Trailer Hitches. Ardent Reels. Mercury, go boldly. Falcon Boats, go fish. Nichols Lures, Trocar. Greenway Plants reminds you to thank a farmer. Power Pole,